And you're on.
Okay. Oh, okay. Second go around here, maybe.
That's a good one.
All right.
Grab your headphones.
All right. Oh, yeah.
You sound great.
All right. Now,
Okay, people are watching.
all right. Now, Bitcoin Motors is supposed to join us, but I don't know if he has a link yet. We're having a hard time getting things back in order here. I've already done an introduction, but y'all missed it, so I guess I'll start all over again. And just got back from over a month trip. It was a great trip. We started out, went to Big Bear Lake, which is kind of a popular place in Southern California, and the kids loved it. We went mountain biking, and I followed my 7-year-old down the mountain, and fortunately, I didn't break anything. Let's get this camera a little closer. I want to be a little more intimate. Let's see if we can do it more like that. Yeah, I think that's better. So, yeah. I'll sit that way. Okay. Anyway, so I followed her down, and I fell down a couple times, but didn't break anything. I didn't have any problems till she slowed down, and then when you're on a bike or a bicycle or a motorbike, you want that speed that keeps your balance. But anyway, that was a challenge. And then we went up to Sacramento. I have a Nigerian friend. He calls me, I'm his white father, and he's my black son. And about 10 years ago, he snuck into the United States down here in San Diego. The judge granted him refugee status, and so I took I knew the attorney there, and he kind of outlined the situation. So I took him in and helped him get started, and he's been very successful. And has gotten married and has a family now, and just doing very well. So that was a lot of fun, and he was just very happy to show off his white pappy. And then we went to Yosemite, which was beautiful. I've never been there. I've always wanted to go, and it was excellent. It was the most expensive place we stayed because it was the wrong season. I waited till the last minute, but we had nice accommodations there. You don't even want to know what it cost. And then I had a friend of mine, a college roommate that lives in actually Vancouver, Washington, which is just outside of Portland. So we had a beautiful house. Before that, we actually spent a night in Reno. And I lost my cell phone. And, my intention was I planned on kind of keeping you guys all informed of what we were doing. But I lost the cell phone and all my codes, and just, it turned out the best, because that way I wasn't involved in Bitcoin, and I just devoted this time, the last month, to my family. And they needed that, and for sure. And so I hope one thing I can teach you guys is the priorities. We all tend to get really involved in Bitcoin, and it's fun. I love it, okay? But we need to get our priorities right and do things, our families come first, and we just have to keep that in mind. And then after that, again, I went to Vancouver, Washington, around Portland, and saw an old college roommate. We went fishing on the Columbia River. And then we took off and went up to Vancouver, which I've always wanted to go to, but I didn't get to Victoria Island, unfortunately, so we'll have to go back someday. And then we started the trip to the Canadian Rockies, which was just fantastic. I mean, I know there's a Bitcoin conference in Calgary, and I hope I'm going to invite myself the next time they have one, because I want to go back up there. We went through the Glacier National Park up there, which is just fantastic. And then, of course, to Banff. And the most beautiful place I've ever been is at Lake Louise. It's just like this. It was a perfect day. It was a storybook setting. I've seen it before, but seeing it in real, it was without doubt the most beautiful place I've ever seen. And then we Of course, we went to Banff and kind of went up the cable car there, and my wife did some walking, which was good. I had to drive the whole trip myself because she's recovering from surgery. And I have a 17-year-old son with me, but he can't drive a stick. And, it's a different generation. When I was a kid, I was driving when I was 14, and we couldn't wait to drive. When our driver's license day came, we went and got it. And the kids nowadays, they really don't care. I mean, they're into Xbox and their computers, and it's a completely different environment. And he didn't care if he drove or not. Now, I have a 13-year-old, he was just pulling my leg the whole time, wanted to drive, and I wanted him to drive. But I just couldn't let him, and he's capable. He's probably going to get into racing motorcycles. But we did that. And then we went, there's some kind of, I can't remember the name, of a big glacier up there in the Canadian parks, and we got on a special machine that took us up on the glacier and drank glacier water. And then we drove, and from there we camped out a couple nights, and then drove back across the border, and we were at Glacier National Park in the U.S., but we were worn out. We didn't go there, and we already seen the glaciers in Canada, which are actually more spectacular. And then headed on our way down to Yellowstone, which unfortunately we didn't get down there till late in the afternoon, so we didn't get to see much, and everybody was so tired, and accommodations I had were in the Grand Tetons in Jackson. So we never really saw a lot of Yellowstone, which we'll have to go back to someday. And we went horseback riding there in the Grand Tetons, and it was just absolutely beautiful. And then we headed for Grand Canyon and spent a day there, and then headed home. So that was it. We drove over 6,000 miles. I did all the driving except maybe 2 or 3 hours. And I won't do it again unless I have help. So next time we take a trip, we're going to be in one spot. And we do something like that again. My 13-year-old will be 16, and he can do half the driving or so. But I wanted to get online just to let you guys know that I'm back. Were you able to send Bitcoin Motors the link? Okay. Do you have a link for him? Did you ever find one?
No, I'm trying to find that.
Okay. Apparently, YouTube's changed their format. They don't have the Hangouts anymore, so we haven't figured out. So hey, Bitcoin Motors, Patrick, I'm sorry I can't get you on tonight, but we'll do it again. I kind of wanted this to kind of be one-on-one anyway, just to let you guys know that I'm back. I'm going to be devoting all my future time getting this conference organized, and I have Socrates is going to be coming and talking. I want to work with him on Tyler Jenks' 10 Pillars of Bitcoin. We unfortunately Max Hillebrand is not going to be able to make it. He had to cancel at the last minute, but I did get, I was able to get Bitcoin Motors, who's an old friend of mine, and actually is probably more appropriate for what I'm trying to accomplish. This conference, it's going to be different. It's going to be a blue collar, working man's Bitcoin conference. It's going to be practical stuff. Look, I don't understand the technical aspects, the front end or the back end of Bitcoin, and I leave that to others. And I have done enough research that I can confidently say that Bitcoin is the blockchain because it's the longest chain with proof of work. And because of that, it's the only thing that will succeed. And then my study of economics has also, we know that it's going to emerge as one standard. You're not going to have competing standards. To a degree you might, but it'll be a very small degree, and the standards are going to evolve with just one. And Bitcoin's the only one that has a prayer of evolving into that, and that's because it's the simplest thing. And that's why I want to get Bitcoin Motors on here, because he's done some pretty good work on describing how Bitcoin because it's simple software, it's not complicated, it's the most secure. And so he's really another, what I call Bitcoin. He's a practical guy that's made it in the Bitcoin business. And this is what we all need to be doing. We all need to start transitioning ourselves into the Bitcoin standard. Now, if you don't have Bitcoin, or if you just have a small amount of Bitcoin, there's really only one thing that you need to concern yourself with, and that's the HODL. And you just dollar cost average. If the price has dipped, you might want to buy a little bit more. But you dollar cost average, and you do that, you know that in the long run, you'll be buying more at lower prices than at higher prices. And Bitcoin is not an investment, it's a speculation, but it's a very wise speculation, because the only other alternative, at least for money, is that you have to go into some type of inflationary fiat currency. Now, that fiat can be declared currency by governments, or it can be a fiat private currency. All these altcoins say, well, we're the new money, and they declare that it is. And that doesn't make it so. They're all centrally controlled. So the whole thing is, you want to build your HODL, okay? And once you have your HODL, you're going to find over time that HODL is going to reward you, and you want to make sure that you reward yourself and your family. And occasionally, from time to time, you sell a bit and reward yourself. In this case, we went on an extended trip, a long awaited one with our family. So that's the second thing that you want to do. And then the third thing that you want to do is what we call builder. And that term actually came from a good friend of mine, Pablo Gonzalez, who runs Bitso here in Mexico, a Mexican exchange, but he applied it to developing things on the Bitcoin or other alternative private currencies. I think that's a large misnomer. I think that the only thing that you want to apply building on is, if you're not a Bitcoin developer or a Bitcoin miner, then to build it is to use the Bitcoin standard to develop the things that you know, the businesses that you know, and become a Bitcoin entrepreneur. Because there's only two types of entrepreneurs. There's those that have Bitcoin and those that don't have Bitcoin. If you don't have Bitcoin, it's time that you get some. You can't operate a business completely on Bitcoin right now, but you can partially do it. And the way I've done it is I encourage my suppliers to take partial payment in Bitcoin and the rest in the currency that they need to pay their daily bills. And you just want to get a revenue stream going in Bitcoin, or a savings program in Bitcoin, and have that HODL. Now, one of the articles that I am working on, which hopefully will be out shortly, is hedging that HODL. And again, before I left, I got in some kind of a tweet storm with some weird guy because I said, hey, well, it's time to sell Bitcoin, go short. And he held me to the letter, and I've never said go short Bitcoin. I say, yes, I sell Bitcoin, okay? Think about it. If you don't sell Bitcoin, all you're going to do is hold it. If you just hold Bitcoin, what good is it going to do you? It might be a great savings program for your children or your grandchildren, but it's really not going to do you any good or those around you any good. But you save it because it's a way to build your wealth. And then as you see it appreciate over time, and it does, then you not only save and reward yourself, but you also transfer that into other income-producing assets. Now, building is not just being a developer or a miner on Bitcoin. Building is building your own business and your own family and your own relationships on sound money. That's the change that's going to be happening. That's the next major wave in Bitcoin. So that's what I'm going to be talking about in this article about hedging in Bitcoin. You don't have to worry about hedging unless you have a HODL. once you have a hodl, that is something you really want to look at, because there were a lot of people that just hodled and hodled and hodled all the way up to $20,000. They never really sold any Bitcoin because I don't know where they thought it was going to go. But and I didn't want to. I had the same mentality. Oh no, I want to keep my Bitcoin. But my wife, she said, no, I want this Raptor, or I want this Mercedes, or I want this piece of machinery, or I want this or that. So she was spending my Bitcoin. Well, it was the best thing that could have happened, because now we have a lot of other assets. And I actually wrote a tweet out one time where, Lambo's as a store of value. She actually could buy her Raptor for, I think, 7 Bitcoin, and then a year later she sold it for 45 Bitcoin. So, that's the speculation that you have in Bitcoin. It has large swings, and right now you're in one of those. I don't know where the price is going, but we've already had a 4-fold increase in price. And of course, the market also went into a large contango. So when that happened, the market shifted. It's a fundamental thing of the market. What happens is the short sellers, the commercial interests who want to lock in those profits, because they don't know where Bitcoin is going either. But now that they know that if it goes back down to $3,000 or lower, which it very well could, they're going to be protected. They're still locked in a profit for the year. And there's no reason that as a hodler, you shouldn't do the same. If don't outright sell some Bitcoin, okay, which I've done. I mean, you saw I ran 2 Bitcoin into, I've taken out over 30. I didn't save that much. I took quite a bit of profit. That's how I made my living this year. So I hodled some and I saved some. Okay, and that's what you and I built a some. I did all 3 of them, and you see exactly how it's done. That's what I'm going to be teaching. That's going to be the focus of this Working Man's Bitcoin Cruise. It's very practical knowledge, and how to put things into action. But you don't want to make that fatal mistake of thinking you know where the market's going, and then put all your Bitcoin on one bet, and because if you're wrong, you're going to get wiped out. You just put a little bit for your trading purposes, and I'll be writing about that now, because the same thing that hedgers do, if you're a hodler and you have your hodl position, you can actually hedge yourself, and it's actually a good business position to do so. If Bitcoin goes up and doubles in price right now, that's $20,000. Well, hey, folks, it's already went up 4 times in price, okay? My 2 Bitcoin has been turned into over 30 Bitcoin. So I did more than 4 times in price, okay? I've taken quite a bit out of it and rewarded myself, saved some, okay? The vacation, we bought the vehicle that we took the trip on, a diesel 18-passenger bus that we'll be using on the Bitcoin cruise to haul you guys around. And so a very practical thing to have. And that's basically the building of the business. And then as a saving, we took a vacation, and you need to reward. You need to, buy your wife something. But keep that hodl. But there's no reason to it. You can't sell. Another way to rather sell it is you can actually hedge it by going short the futures. And if the market, let's say, goes up and you sell, let's say you sell it at $10,000 and it goes up to $20,000. Let's say you have 10 Bitcoin and you sell 2 of them on the futures, and it goes up to 20,000. Well, you still have your 8 Bitcoin. The 2 Bitcoin that you sold is still worth $20,000. So your equity, your total equity, as measured in dollars, has gone up. The risk is when you have a large hodl is if that Bitcoin market breaks, because if the market breaks and goes from, let's say, 10,000 to 3,000, now your $100,000 equity that you thought you had has turned into 30,000, and you really don't want to be selling it there. That's when you want to be accumulating it. So it's lots of times worthwhile taking that, and if you don't want to sell it, don't have any opportunity to take a vacation or sell to get something else, you can sell it on the futures. And what happens is you're protected. If I don't need those earphones anyway. You're protected if the market drops. For example, if you sell 2 Bitcoin now and it goes down to $3,000, that's $14,000. But the price of Bitcoin is 3,000 now. So that 2 Bitcoin is now almost 5 Bitcoin. And so you've actually increased your Bitcoin holdings, and you have to start thinking that way. Your goal is you want an ever-increasing Bitcoin holding. So that's where I'm trying to take you guys on this. So, all right. So that's it. I just want to let you know I'm going to be, we'll probably be doing shows regularly. I need to find out where we stand on this conference. We still have seats available. I want to be doing some other special promotions for you guys, and I got to put some thought in them before we do it. But I just wanted to do this brief little show to let you know that I'm back. We're going to be devoting the next few weeks just for this conference. I'll be preparing for it. I really want it to be, it's not going to be a big one. I'm not looking to make it a big one. I want it to be small. I want it to be top quality, and I want it to be fully recorded so it can be readily available for you and readily available to anyone that you want to pass it on to. Because I think it's very important that we get people into the Bitcoin market in the proper way. And it's a hard thing to do, but over time, you guys have listened to me. I mean, I'm getting more subscribers. Hey, I couldn't believe I wasn't around for the last month, and I got almost 1,000 new followers on Twitter, and it's all due to the Medium articles that I know just kind of circulate around and around. So that's where I'm at. Are there any questions or anything we have going on?
Two people were just saying hello.
Okay.
It is kind of late.
No, it's late, but I want to do something, and so
we'll get a better
yeah, and we can look at let's look at the market briefly. I am somewhat bearish on this market.
I don't know how to screen share on that. It's very, very, very different from before. So
what?
How do I?
No. They all want to. Let's see. Where's my? Can I pull up a screen share on this?
I don't think so.
Okay. Well, I guess we're not going to be able to. Eddie's going to have to learn how to use this new system. But, at any rate, I am. The market's not doing anything. Okay. If I had to guess, we're probably going to take out that 2-week low, and we're probably going to go down. And how far? It's anybody's guess. I still see a very real possibility of it testing that $3,000 level. I'm not short. I've already, I'm hodling. If it goes down there, I'll be accumulating more Bitcoin. I'd kind of like to sell it, but I just.
I think we're going to have to use Zoom, which is going to be better than this new YouTube, because it's way, way, way different than what we were using.
Okay, well, we subscribe to Zoom, so you need to put Ugly Old Goat on there, because I think Zoom has my real name and everything on it, and I would rather be ugly. So, all right, so I'm done. That's just a quick overview. Again, I should have an article coming out, Hedging Your HODL. And that's one article I'm working on. I want to work on a article on Bitcoin is the new America. I think that's going to be very important, kind of a groundbreaking article. There's a lot of controversy right now in our nation, and I'm not so sure that we're going to pull out of it, but I'm not so sure that it's really necessary to. We might have a new paradigm coming, which I think is a very, very likely scenario. And then I also kind of wanted, just for fun, I wanted to address, what's going on. I was very amused with the Jeffrey Epstein affair and how I expected him to die in prison. I didn't expect him to make it, and I thought it would probably be an inside job. But it was a very well done inside job because everything was exactly the way it should be, and it all sounds very, very plausible. But there are a lot of things that people don't understand about prison. And that's what I will be writing and talking about. And one thing that you probably aren't aware of that I am very aware of is a lot of your witness protection program people are put into the prison system. And the Department of Justice plays lots of games in the prison system. And they're deliberate games. I was put in a number of them. And a lot of your case law, particularly on obstruction of justice and interference in administration of justice in federal court, goes around the prisoner lawsuits. And I'll be going into that a little bit. So it's kind of opened up some interesting things for me that probably only I can give you a perspective on. Lots of other fascinating stuff going on with Craig Wright and that stuff, and the SEC cracking down. So I think we have some. Tyler Jenks said, "Hey, we got to scrape the barnacles off the Bitcoin ship," and that process has begun and is well underway, but it's not nearly complete, and it's just started. Scraping barnacles is not an easy thing. They used to, what do they call that when they rolled the ship over, beach it and roll it over? And there's a name for it, and then they would spend days or weeks scraping the ship off so it could sail properly. And Tyler Jenks came up with that phrase, and it was very apropos. And you're seeing it. I mean, you are seeing the foolishness of these altcoins. You're seeing the foolishness of, this very predictable things. I think Tone has some really good. I watched a couple of his programs lately, and he's covered it probably better than I can. But how these altcoins are really just now they're using the same arguments that the fiat.
Do you have any positions now?
No, I do not have any positions. I have no position on. I am looking. I really would like to sell this thing. I just haven't. And here's my dilemma, okay? I want to teach you guys how to trade. So I'm not really looking at my overall total position like I should be if the wise thing for me to do would be just to sell a little short here. Because if it goes up, I still come out ahead. The problem is if I do that, then my equity goes down, and you guys are all looking, oh, he turned 2 Bitcoin into 35 Bitcoin, and that's my problem. Yet that doesn't. I have to kind of take you to the next level to see that, because that's the overall picture. And when you're managing funds, and that's what it is, you're managing your business, you're managing your family, you're managing your business. So you have to take everything into consideration. And but I'm not really doing that. What I'm really doing is say, okay, you can trade this. I'm showing the right way to trade, and you'll see. Hey, last 3, 4, 5 trades, been getting clobbered. Been all my rules said you buy it, and I just this thing can't. It's not. Ever since I saw that pop up, and I think it was June or July when I wrote that article. I said, that's all we need. This thing can go down the whole rest of the year, and that's not going to surprise me at all. We just tail off the whole rest of the year, and we look at December and say, oh my gosh, Bitcoin's down to $3,000. I'm not going to be surprised, but it can go to 20,000. I don't know how it's going to get there right now, but think of it this way. It's only a doubling in price, $20,000. That's only a doubling in price. We've gone up 4 times. Basically, if you didn't catch this move this year, you kind of missed it. So if you caught it and you want to lock in some of that, it's a good idea. And I did lock it in. Now, how did I lock it in? I locked it in by selling some, by buying other assets, by rewarding my family. Now, I'm going to pay income tax on those, okay? Or capital gains, whatever is the appropriate thing. It's a taxable event. But I've also, that's how, you make a living. There's no way that you're going to avoid taxes. When I went through that little tweet storm, this guy said, well, he got down on me, and they get down on basically people that are helping you trade, good traders like Tyler Jenks, like Tom. They don't understand what Tyler Jenks was saying. They completely missed it. All they do is they take one thing out of context and don't get the whole picture. And I never, ever have said go short, net short Bitcoin. Do you go short the futures? Yes. Do I sell the futures? Yes. Yeah. Do I sell Bitcoin? Of course I sell Bitcoin, and I buy Bitcoin. And that's the name of the game. I mean, I'm sorry, folks, but and you can't do that until you have your HODL. So if you don't have a HODL, don't worry about it. And that's what I'm writing this article about. I'm step by step. It's kind of a primer on total portfolio management. And this is what I want to teach you, because you don't want these big swings. You don't want to be like my good friend Zezo Duarte, that was just trading up a storm and gave it all back. And I'm sure most of you out there have done that. I've done it, okay? You don't want to do that. If you've already done it, then you listen to the ugly old goat. He'll show you ways that you can avoid that. And it's hard because the temptation, you want to get in there, particularly if you just lost a bunch, you want to get back in there and get it all back. And which 9 times out of 10 simply compounds your problems. So, all right. So I have no positions now. I'm lean, bearish. I'm willing to weather the storm. If I miss, I'm just, there's nothing to be excited about. Now, the market I do think has potential right now is the gold market. So I do think that it's just at the beginning stages of a rather good bull market. I thought that Peter Schiff put out a pretty good tweet, when he made the analogy, hey, gold's going up and Bitcoin was unable to make a new high. Now, this is what I don't rule out. I don't rule out Bitcoin going up there and making a contract high, because the alts did and Bitcoin didn't. And the alts are done. I mean, they're toast. So how this is going to affect Bitcoin in the short run and long time, that's the really big issue. I think that, we are setting ourselves up for a very long, prolonged bull market that will likely surprise everyone. But you could go sideways here and not go above 20,000 for years. or at least, that would be surprising in Bitcoin, but at least for a good time. And that would be, hey, if that happens, consider a great opportunity. I mean, if we can drag ourselves out and have this market can just, keep working hard, and this Bitcoin market just keeps going sideways and drifts down, wears everybody out, and then has a boom, a real hard breakdown, that'd be great. And particularly in the long term, you've got what I would call as a great big flying W. You go back down there to 3,000, and then you go up. Wow, you've got the hyperwave. And I do believe in Tyler Jenks' hyperwave. I thought that was a groundbreaking. I thought that was a groundbreaking idea that he presented, and I knew where he developed it from. I've studied all the other things. I've studied Elliott Wave and most everything else in the market, and Tone had instant credibility with me when he said, I don't follow Elliott Wave, because I don't either. It's all astrology to me. Okay. Yeah, I mean, the problem that we have right now is, okay, I think where we're at is a situation similar to where we were at 6,000. And remember how we would go down there and everybody, it's going to break, but it'll go down there to 6 and then bounce up. Go down to 6 and bounce up. But when it was doing that, every time it went down there, it was in a backwardation. Okay, this is a different market, and I think that the paradigm is changing. I think what's happening is Bitcoin's growing up. It's getting to be a lot more sophisticated. There's getting to be a lot more legitimate commercial interests involved. And so that, the 2-week low, I think, is down there. I don't know, but you guys have to look 90, 50 or whatever. The problem is if it goes down there, how Bitcoin goes, it could just instantly just keep on going and going. How do you get on board that? And if you notice, my style of trading is I want to have that position on before that happens. So, and I been doing it just because all my rules said, okay, I'll buy it and it hadn't worked. So now maybe you try selling it, but by the same token, you get another one of those spikes. I mean, that last spike, I thought, okay, that's a legitimate turn. I waited for it to break. I bought the break, and then it had another break. I said, you know what? This is dirt. And I got out. Frankly, I kind of panicked because I could see that thing dropping real quick, all the way down to 6,000. And I didn't want to be around for that. So, I said, you know what? Look, what I've taught you guys is don't worry about the market. What you're going to look at is your equity. That's what you're trading. Don't worry about those other charts. And that's going to be one thing that we're going to be outlining. I just really hope that Victor can get this down, is we want to get a sequential system to measure your own equity, because I think measuring yourself is more important than measuring the market. Everybody's trying to measure the market, and that's objective, okay? And that's an objective thing. But trading is not objective. It's subjective. It depends upon you. And so that's what I'm trying to teach. That's the secret that I've learned. And if you're trading the market objectively, because this is the pattern and this is what everybody else is looking at it too, okay? That's the given. So you don't need to even look at that. You need to look at yourself, because that's where the secret is. The secret is it's not a question of being right or wrong the market. It really isn't. You can be long or short. It doesn't matter. What you want to do is just keep those losses as small as you can. And when you get a tiger by the tail, you ride it. Now, one thing that I did do is, the account had 4 Bitcoin in it, and I took it down to 3, And you know what? I took another Bitcoin out. I'm not going to give them back that, and I'm going to cut my trading back. I've taken 2 up to 25 last year, and I took 2 up to 35 this year. And hopefully I can do it again before the end of the year. But you know what? If I don't, it's okay. I don't need to be the richest guy in the cemetery. I've made mine. I've got other businesses I'm working on, and that's the way you want to do this. You're not going to hit a home run every time. Now you will hit home runs, but the only way you'll hit home runs is if you can play the game. And if you get wiped out, you can't play. And that's what I'm trying to teach you, is so that you want to be able to play the game. So yeah, I just, that's why I say, if this thing's going, I want to be short before it breaks. I don't want. I'm not a breakout buyer or a breakout seller. I'm kind of just the opposite. I like to, that's why I call it trimming. If I was short now, in fact, I tweeted that out when we took out the previous week's low. I said, hey, if you're short, great. You might want to start trimming in here. And it went down far more than I expected it to. And it almost took out the 2-week low, went down to 9,500, but it bounced right back out. And we've been playing this game ever since. And, it is right now it's a Bitcoin domination game. People are recognizing what Bitcoin is. So I do think that any type of a sell-off that Bitcoin has will be short-lived. But it could be very... it could just be very devastating, particularly if you're heavily margined. So you don't want to be, you don't want to be heavily margined, and you certainly don't want to be short Bitcoin. So if you want to hedge yourself, that's fine, but please. Don't listen to the people that say Ugly Old Gold has said to sell Bitcoin. I haven't. I said you're buying it, selling it all the time. I sell Bitcoin regularly. I buy it regularly, and that's what you have to do. It's a something that you hold and you save, and then once you have your HODL, then you'll find how useful it can be. But you also don't want to sell all of it, because you don't know. We didn't know it was going to 20,000. When it was going up, I sold some at 10,000, 15,000, 20,000. And the same this time too. I sold some all the way up. I held some because I held some, and I rewarded myself some. And I build some. I took Bitcoin to build something else to hopefully earn more Bitcoin. Now, I may not, but I still have those assets. The difference is those assets are confiscatable, okay? My business, my bank account, these cars, the bus we bought, the factory equipment that we've bought, that can all be taken away. So the game is, if all that disappears, I still have one asset of last resort. I still have one thing that, so long as I have the private key and no one else does, it can't be taken away from me. That's the value proposition of Bitcoin, and the fact that it has no borders. So, I live in Mexico. Mexico and the United States are very close. As far as the governments are, they cooperate with each other in most everything. If the United States wanted to come and get Ugly Old Goat, they know where I'm at, and they could shut me down in a minute. But they're going to have a hard time, short of torture, of getting my Bitcoin. And even then, the torture may not be successful, because I probably, I'm an ugly old senile goat. So that's what this is all about. And hopefully, we are going to build a society of trust so that those things are not a major concern. When but then of course when those fears go away, that's when it pops up when nobody's expecting. So any rate, I'm very excited about Bitcoin. I mean, I tell you what's the coolest thing that I never would have believed 30 years ago, or even 40 years ago. I never would have believed that you would have a different monetary standard and a gold standard and a paper money standard competing against each other. And that's what we have now. And I think it's a wonderful thing. It's really the only hope we have to get through this mess. And I think that a lot of the smart central bankers who understand banking and understand, inflating and, why power is centralized by banks that can control money, they realize that they are going to be losing control, and so that's why there's the reemergence of a gold standard, and people seriously talking about it. Back in the 1960s, 70s, and 80s, if you advocated a gold standard, you were just simply a laughing stock. And now more and more, and I think it's because of Bitcoin, governments are realizing that in order to save the currency that they have, they're going to have to go back to a gold standard, which would be great. It'd be wonderful. Let's have competing money for sound money. That would be a wonderful thing to have. That's just simply I couldn't imagine 40 years ago. All right, so we're done. We'll probably start going on to Zoom, and you got your work cut out for you, Eddie. How you doing on your trading account?
I think I'm getting there.
All right. Well, there's a couple guys want to get a hold of you. I got a message. In fact, AAD3, he wants to.
Yeah, actually, I've been talking to Andy, and
okay.
Yeah,
he wants to help you out.
Yeah,
okay. Because he says, and I don't have time. My plate's really full, guys. It really is. And like I say, I got a full family at home. I got my 7-year-old demands my time constantly, and I've got a 13-year-old and a 17-year-old. So, at any rate, and then and then we have grandchildren here, and it's just a wonderful place to be. So, but we're gonna get our priorities right, and I'll be hopefully be. I need to get back into my strength is not YouTube. Hopefully I'll get better at it, but my strength is my Medium articles, and I know that. My strength is my trading, and I know that. So I will go where I'm comfortable, and I know what I know. When I don't know, I'll be the first one to bow out, and I learned a long time ago that it's better not to speak if you don't know what you're talking about. So good night, everybody, and we'll probably do this quite a bit here in the next. We need to get this organized, and I have I need to get all these speakers together.
We can use your green screen now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we can do that too, and we're going to bring back Saturday Night Live. But we're on vacation now, and I really want to do that professionally. I want to be a lot of fun, and I really want to get it. Kind of crazy. We'll do this stuff and then just have fun on Bitcoin Saturday Night Live. And I really want to get some professional comedians in here. I need to send out. Juan Galt just did a great thing on phones. I need to retweet that out. So.
Yeah, the thing we were watching.
Huh?
Oh, you can have it on your finger.
Yeah, that's really good. So I'll tweet that out. And I guess he was all excited about coming, but anyway, hopefully he'll be coming. He called me today and said, I've been offered this great opportunity. I said, well, and it's the same dates. I said, well, you got to decide, man. You got, I'm not, so I'm paying him more, and I think, it's just that he might be able to get a real job. And, I know that's tempting if you've never had one, but, I'm a guy, I've never been employable, so I've always just had to fend for myself. And sometimes I think that's the best thing, but you have to have a certain temperament to do it. So, all right. Well, that's it. We'll see you tomorrow or the next day or whatever. We're going to be doing a lot of shows between now and this conference. And we're getting it all together to see how many seats are left. Hey, if we've ignored you, my bad, okay? I thought when I left that Eileen had the email address to support@uglyoldgoat.com. She didn't. So I come back, there's all these things. What about the conference? And she never had access to it. Well, I didn't. My bad. And she called me once or twice. I called her back, but she didn't know that email was even there. So, running a business, it's a full-time job. I got to get to the point where, I have another business, and Eddie pretty well runs that, okay? But we're doing all this new stuff, and we don't know what we're doing. We know what we're doing in our old business,
Right.
but we don't know what we're doing with this business. And but we're learning, and
it's hard.
And well, it's not hard. It's just a lot of businesses. None of it's really hard. It's just a lot of detail,
True,
and it's time consuming. And then what happens is, then you devote everything to that, and you ignore your family. It's a balancing act, and Bitcoin's a balancing act, guys. Look, best thing that I have is my wife, because she'll go out and spend the Bitcoin I make, and I don't want to spend it. But she spends it when it's high, smart woman, that's going to be part of my article is, I wrote that tweet out, what was it? Lambos as a store of value, how she bought a Raptor for 7 Bitcoin, and then she sold it for equipment, which was equivalent at the time of 45 Bitcoin. Well, that's not a bad trade. She made a lot of money by selling Bitcoin and buying a Raptor, and she had a blast with that Raptor for a year. And she bought a Mercedes too and did the same thing. So, you need balance. If young guys, if you're not married, get married, get a wife, have a family. You need children. Best advice I can give you, okay? We need to value that. And you know what? My generation was very guilty of throwing that away, and me included. So we need to bring it back. All we can do is repent for our past actions and correct them from there. So time to go. I'm tired. I need to get back